sunny summer morning, the fields were glowing with golden sunshine, and the pond was surrounded by blooming flowers and green grass. Underneath some big green leaves sat a mother duck, quietly keeping her eggs warm. She'd been sitting on them for so long, waiting eagerly to meet her little ducklings. She thought, when will these little ones finally come out? Just then, there was a crack, as one egg split open, and a tiny, fluffy head poked out. Then another crack, and another. More and more ducklings popped out of their shells, all yellow and fuzzy, with big, curious eyes. The mother duck looked at her babies and felt so happy, she thought they were just the cutest little things. But then she noticed one big egg that still hadn't hatched. This egg is so much larger than the others, she thought. I wonder what kind of duckling will come out of this one. She didn't worry too much, though, and kept waiting patiently. Finally, after a while, the big egg cracked open too. But when the little duckling crawled out, the mother duck was surprised. This duckling didn't look like the others. He was bigger than the rest, his feathers were grayish, and he didn't seem to match his brothers and sisters. The mother duck frowned for a moment, but then she thought, well, he's still my baby, and took him along with the other ducklings down to the pond for their first swimming lesson. The mother duck led her ducklings to the pond, where they all splashed in, one by one, paddling around with their tiny feet. The gray duckling swam just as well as the others, he wasn't different in the water at all. The mother duck smiled, thinking, maybe he just looks a little different, but he's still a great little swimmer. They played in the water for a while, and then the mother duck took them back to meet the other ducks. But when the other ducks saw the gray duckling, they all started to whisper and laugh. Look at that one. He's so weird looking, one old duck muttered. Another proud duck even pecked him, saying, you're way too ugly to stay here with us. The poor little duckling lowered his head and didn't know what to say. He felt so sad, but he didn't know where else to go. His brothers and sisters joined in teasing him too, and even his mother duck felt a little embarrassed. So, the gray duckling sat alone, feeling like he didn't belong anywhere. Being picked on every day, the ugly duckling finally couldn't take it anymore. One night, he snuck away from the pond, thinking, if no one wants me here, I'll go somewhere else and try to find a place where I fit in. The ugly duckling wandered far away, finally reaching another pond where some wild ducks were swimming. He thought, maybe these wild ducks will be nicer to me. But as he got closer, one of them said, who are you? You look so strange. Don't come near us. The ugly duckling felt disappointed again and quietly walked away. Everywhere he went, it was the same, chickens clucked and chased him, hens pecked him, and no animal seemed to want him around. The ugly duckling felt like he was the most miserable duck in the world. As time passed, fall turned to winter, and the air grew colder. The leaves fell, and soon snow started covering the ground. The ugly duckling was alone, hungry, and shivering from the cold. Then, one day, he looked up and saw something amazing, big, white birds flying in the sky. Their feathers were as white as snow, and they looked like clouds as they spread their wings wide. The ugly duckling had never seen such beautiful birds before. He wanted to go with them, but he felt too ashamed. So he just watched, dreaming he could be like them someday. Winter was tough, and the ugly duckling barely survived. He curled up in the grass to keep warm, but he was so cold and weak. Just as he thought he couldn't take it anymore, a kind farmer found him, wrapped him in a warm blanket, and brought him home. The farmer took good care of him, giving him food and a place to rest. Finally, the snow melted, and the warm spring air returned. One day, the farmer opened the window, and the ugly duckling slipped outside, making his way back to the pond. When he looked down into the water, he saw his reflection, and couldn't believe his eyes. There, staring back at him, was a beautiful white bird. He flapped his wings and saw that the bird in the water did the same. It was him. He had turned into a beautiful swan. Just then, other swans came over to him, welcoming him as one of their own. The ugly duckling was overjoyed. He had finally found a place where he belonged. Villagers nearby saw him too and said, "Wow, that's the most beautiful swan we've ever seen." The ugly duckling felt so happy, knowing he'd never been ugly, he just hadn't realized he was a swan all along. He spread his wings and soared into the sky with the other swans, proud to be his true self at last. This story shows us that everyone has their own special beauty. Even if we don't fit in at first, we should never give up on ourselves. If we keep believing, one day we'll find our own happiness.